Earl Lloyd battled against the color barrier in the National Basketball Association by putting aside segregation and being the first African American head coach and the first African American to play in an NBA game. Lloyd was born in 1928, where he grew up in Alexandria, Virginia. In Alexandria, blacks were highly segregated against, and they didn't have many rights at all. He was the star of his town's high school basketball team, and he was offered to play in college for the West Virginia State Yellow Jackets. After graduating from Parker Gray High School in 1946, he accepted a scholarship to play for West Virginia State. College basketball was a step up from high school basketball for him, but he still managed to be a leader on a very good West Virginia State team. He led West Virginia State to 2 CIAA conference and tournament championships in 1948 and 49. He was named All-Conference 3 times in 1948 to 1950 and was All-American twice in 1949 and 1950. As a senior, he averaged 14 points and 8 rebounds per game, while leading West Virginia State to a second-place finish in the CIA Conference and Tournament Championships. In the 1947-48 season, West Virginia State was the only undefeated team in the United States, and this caught attention from many different NBA scouts. He was talented on both the offensive and defensive sides of the ball, but he was more well known for his outstanding hustle on defense. There were other African Americans playing for West Virginia State, but Lloyd knew if he was drafted into the NBA, he would be one of the few in the league. After his college basketball career ended, he didn't think he would get drafted into the NBA, and he gave up on his career. Then one day on campus, he ran into a friend and they told him that he had been drafted into the NBA. He had no idea. It turns out he was drafted into the NBA by the Washington Capitals in the 9th round. Lloyd was one of only 4 African Americans drafted into pro teams that year, and his debut would be on Halloween night. Joining an all-white team was intimidating for Lloyd, but his teammates, most of whom had played on integrated college teams, were immediately welcoming. On October 31st, 1950, 21-year-old Earl Lloyd became the first African American to play in an NBA game. When he took the court in the season opener for the Washington Capitals, he officially broke the racial barrier. In this historic game against the Rochester Royals, the Royals defeated the Capitals 78-70. Lloyd scored 6 points and began the acceptance of African Americans in the NBA. Although making history, Lloyd spent only 7 games with the Capitals before leaving for a 2-year shift in the Army. Due to scheduling, Lloyd played 1 day ahead of another African American named Chuck Cooper of the Boston Celtics. In 1952, he returned to the NBA to play for the Syracuse Nationals, where he earned the nickname Big Cat. Lloyd achieved the best performance of his career in the 1954-55 season when he scored 731 points and helped the Nationals to the Eastern Division Championship. During that season, Lloyd broke another barrier when he was the first African American to win an NBA title. Racial discrimination affected Lloyd. He remembers being refused service in the dining rooms of hotels and being spit on by a fan in Indiana. Lloyd states that being insulted and called names only made him play harder, because he knew the hecklers only shouted insults when he was playing good. This only led to more motivation for Lloyd, and in 1956 he was named CIAA Player of the Decade for the years 1947 through 1956. As his career started winding down, he was traded to the Detroit Pistons in 1958. He remained in Detroit until his retirement from professional basketball in 1960 at the age of 32. This wouldn't be Lloyd's last stop in the NBA. and he returned in 1968 to coach for the Detroit Pistons. From 1968 to 1970, he became a Pistons assistant coach and added another African American first to his list. After only 2 years as assistant coach, he was moved up to be the head coach of the Detroit Pistons. After 1 year of being head coach for the Pistons, he resigned and decided it was best for him to spend 5 years as a scout. After scouting, he then went on to work for the city, in the police department and as a school administrator. He made one more impact on the NBA when he was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 2003. Lloyd stayed humble during his NBA years, and he didn't let the criticizers get to him. Not only was he a great athlete, but he was an outstanding leader for future generations as well.